大丈夫そうかな。Hello, hello. Sorry. All right, hello. Thank you so much for coming to Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi, and it's Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. This live is this is the Sashiko Live Streaming where I talk about Sashiko while doing the Sashiko stitching. This is not a lecture, this is not a tutorial, this is not a webinar. So I am not gonna answer the technical question that I have to stop stitching, but instead I would like to answer the questions about culture or techniques or other related questions that I do not have to stop stitching. That being said, Happy New Year, and this is the Thursday night. I hope that every week I can come back here on the YouTube, offering the place for us to get together to stitch together. There's a word for Japanese. Sorry, there's a word for that in Japanese called ibasho, and it is my best intention to keep having that place for us to stitch together. All right. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. I will skip the announcement because this is the first live streaming. Yep, and I will start advertising or announcing starting next week. Today I will just jump onto stitching. Sorry. Something got stuck. Something. Sorry. Aye. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. It's kind of still in the holiday season, right? My daughter's school doesn't start until next Monday, this coming Monday. So, like, my brain's also still a little bit fog. Well. I hope that you are having a good break. And I hope that we will have a lot of stitching together for this year too, 2025. Sorry, wow, something got stuck. Well, the things I do is the same actually. There's no difference from what I did in 2024 and what I do in 2025. So there's no preparation for this. There's nothing. It's exactly the same as last year. And there was a comment on Instagram that saying she or he doesn't consider New Year's or other days as special days, so she continues stitching or spending the day as if there was no, anniversary is kind of like a day we set ourselves to, to make it somewhat special. And I agree with the comment. The principle of Sashiko is probably not celebrating too much. It is a stitchery in the ordinary, so I think what she tried to deliver that comment was to emphasize on the ordinary part of Sashiko. And I agree with that. So there's not that much special things about Sashiko doing in the New Year's. It's the same as always, and that's what makes it more Sashiko-like. So it's the same as yesterday, last week. Wow, well, I'm not really talking last few days, so that's why probably my throat is not ready to talk, to speak up. What is your resolution for 2025? I probably don't say the resolution today because I usually don't keep that resolution until the end of January, and it's kind of embarrassing to not to keep that. So I will not probably say it right now today, but if you have any of those, it's I forgot about it. If I don't know if this is a saying in Japanese or not, but it's better to say it out loud, or it's not better. It's not a good idea to say it out loud. I think it is better to say it out loud so that we can keep it ongoing. And I always try to say that resolution, but at the same time I kind of don't keep that. But Stitcher itself, I wrote that on my Instagram yesterday or today, but oh my gosh, what's going on with my throat? This year's goal is pretty much the same as last year or even last 5 years, to deliver, to share what Sashiko really can be. In order to do that, I want you to know what Sashiko is. I think I'm doing what I can do for the best. At the same time, unfortunately, it's not really going well. People, a majority of those who come across Sashiko are still reading or understanding the Sashiko they would like to understand instead of what it is. It is because of the message or because of the contents of the message I'm trying to deliver. And in order to avoid those misunderstandings, I think my next step is to introduce or to deliver the message, to explain or to describe who we are, what we think, and what we are looking for. So this year's not a resolution, it's more like a goal, long-term goal, is to do something to deliver the message about ourselves. Not only the Sashiko itself, but more like us. Us means me, my mother, Keiko, and other Sashiko friends that I deeply respect too. I think that, by introducing those people, including myself, I think we can elaborate the message. So until this year, my main focus was to introduce what Sashiko is or Sashiko has been. On top of that, I will not discontinue that, but on top of that, I will try to describe or introduce who we are as well. Don't ask me how. I don't know how yet, but I think that's a good approach to come to the new year of 2025, because 2024 has become a pretty good, shocking year for me. I really opened my eyes that Sashiko has really become something else in the trend. I think many people feel the same way. Especially if one is doing Sashikos before 2018, 2017, or even 16, let's say about 10 years ago, if you were doing Sashiko back then, it is quite shocking or surprising that how many people know the word about Sashiko at this moment. It wasn't this popular anywhere. And it's good that some of there are good aspects of being popular, but at the same time, there is like a side effect for that. So, well, it's. I hope. Well, it is another goal to make this. I probably say this resolution every year, and that's why I don't want to say it out loud as like official resolution. I cannot keep it, but it is my intention. It is my goal. It is my hope to make this live streaming more sort of entertaining. It's really difficult to make it entertaining. Something that we can laugh together, ideally. But laughing requires some, skill and talent. And I don't like I don't like a humor and sacrificing somebody. I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk down on somebody to get a laugh. I know it's one culture here, and that's one way to get laugh, but that's not really my preference. So then we have to think what is the like not a comedy, but like something we can laugh without hurting somebody. And it sounds really, really cliche. It is like really idealistic world to say that, but that's my extreme goal to make this live streaming somehow laughable without creating any pain, which is really, really difficult. That's the goal. It's not even resolution. It's like a bigger, bigger goal. It's not this year's goal. It's like my lifetime goal. But this year too. So this year, because I had a chance to go back to Japan in November, I had a chance to arrange a shipment from Japan to the US in early January, not January, early December, to receive the lucky bag. We call it fukubukuro. We usually prepare that in Japan, and by the time I arrange the order, or by the time I ask my mother to ship it to the US, they're sold out usually. So last few years I could not arrange a website or web page for the offering fukubukuro or lucky bag. But this year I got few packages available. Only few though, because my mother needs. Well, I mean, the main intention is to prepare that and share that with the people in Japan. I mean, I'm not saying like it's not for the non-Japanese. It's just the availability is very limited. So, but it's not like a typical lucky bag. That it's like an invisible blind bag. That's what we called. I think it's like the bag that you do not know what is inside, and that's more like from the business perspective. Stores sell those bags to clear the inventory. We don't have the inventory to begin with. We don't have that big inventory to begin with, so we don't have to. We don't really make the lucky bag for that purpose. It's more like something that we try our best to entertain the new years of Sashiko, encourage them to continue doing Sashiko with the idea of creating the new Sashiko thread. Yeah, I gotta explain what I actually wrote a blog explaining what uh, Fukubukuro is. So if you'd like to read about it, please go to the sashikostory.com and there should be a blog. Latest blog should be about that. Oh my gosh, sorry. Hello from Brazil. Much admiration and respect for Sashiko. Thank you so much for coming. By the way, don't do this, okay? I'm not using the ruler, and that's not really the recommendation, so don't do that. You may see that I start stitching without the line. That's not a good sign. That's not really a good sign for this. Well, once you kind of see it already, you don't really need the line. But like as long as you can see very subtle line, we can go. It's especially because it's a straight line. You don't really have to look well, when you drive on the highway, you don't really well, I mean, it's good to see the line, but if you don't see the line at all, you have to be careful, but it doesn't mean that you cannot drive, right? Or am I saying something crazy? Like in the big snowstorm, well, you shouldn't be probably driving. We shouldn't be driving outside, but if we were to have to drive outside, and it's ideally, of course, ideally be able to look outside and line as much as clear as usual, but as long as you can see a bit of line, we can go forward. And that's, I think, what I'm doing. And I do not recommend it. I keep saying, but I do not recommend it. As I will not recommend to drive in this snowstorm. But this comes from the laziness. I prepared the pattern, but it's fading because it's quite huge fabric. And when the fading happens, the best way to do Sashiko is to reinforce the line as strong as you can, as often as you need. And please do so. When you do it, please do so. But sometimes we don't. It's not a mastery or something. It's just pure laziness. And that's why please don't do that. I don't teach like that too. I ask everybody to follow the patterns. So don't do that. I think you can see the line over. Well, kind of. I think you can see that. Careful you don't lose your license to Sashiko stitching outside of the line like that. Yeah, that's a very good point. I hope I don't lose that. Do I lose the driver's license if I drive in the snowstorm? Your comment probably implied that I could lose the driver's license if I mean, of course, if I do something reckless, well, that might be categorized as recklessness, but sometimes we have to drive in the snowstorm unexpectedly, right? Yeah, I mean, I was in Michigan for the college, so we have done that quite. Not as so many times, but sometimes. Yeah, Michigan was really, really bad. I mean, Michigan was great. Just the snow-wise, it was really bad. It wasn't the best experience. Well, it was, after all, it was a good experience, I guess. But yeah, I think there's no license for Sashiko per se. I don't know. I've heard that there's like a license. There's a place that they issue some sort of license to Sashiko, but that's kind of strange. And I don't think that's specifically focusing on Sashiko. It's more like a 2 years program of Japanese stitchery, and then the Sashiko is part of that program. So it's not really the Sashiko only focused on the licensure. I don't think there's any license needed for this kind of thing, but reckless stitching and reckless driving are of course equally dangerous. I don't know. I mean, reckless driving is bad. I understand that, but I sometimes enjoy reckless stitching. The worst case scenario is to stitch myself, I think, or ending up with something I did not expect. So, I can't and I don't drive when I am very sleepy and almost falling asleep. But I often, not always, I often do Sashiko when I'm really, really sleepy and I don't remember sometimes what I was stitching. So it's a really good point. There are a lot of similarities between stitching and driving. But I don't probably quite associate myself with reckless stitching. I want to see what reckless stitching looks like. Well, there's no speed limit too in Sashiko. At the same time, a lot of my friends, a lot of my students do not focus on the speed. They are very fast in stitching, but I don't think their focus is in the speed. In fact, nobody is focusing on the speed. They are fast, but it's more like a result. It happened to be fast, but it's not like let's try to make it faster and faster. So it's really not like attentional. It's not really intentional, but that might be only me. Well, that might be only me and my friends who I often talk to. But I think that's what I'm teaching in terms of Sashiko. When we focus on the result too much, we will start judging ourselves and speed or result accuracies. Those are very important factors when we focus on the result only. But since I ask them to focus on the process more, those speed and also the evenness, accuracy of stitchings are more like happen to be like that. So I do have my own answer, but I really don't have the answers that they expect to when they ask me how can they make the stitches even or stitch faster. My answers is going to be quite philosophical, probably to them. So I hope that those people can take my class. Then I can probably, not probably, it's my mission to, pass it down to them. So I stitch when I'm sleepy, but if I poke myself more than once, I just go to bed. That's a good line. That's a very good kind of rules, I guess, to that's a very good like rules or lines to set. Yeah, so the speed wise, speed is important, speed is good to have, but I hope that I am not communicating speed is most important thing. Speed is important to stitch more, and the more you stitch, the better you get. So it's kind of nice to have a good speed, but it does not mean that it's the core. Well, I mean, you gotta stitch though. I think there are so many people who, in this trend, there are quite many people who say they like Sashiko, but they're not really stitching. And I'm not criticizing them. There should be a lot of kind of people in this trend. So there's nothing wrong with those who like Sashiko without stitching. Some people may like Sashiko from the perspective of fashion. Um, I'm not a big fan of like dealers, but there might be somebody who are kind of, bringing the item from Japan and selling it. And, those people probably don't do Sashiko by themselves. So there are many, many people who like the word Sashiko. But when they say that, when they kind of advertise themselves as the active stitcher, the actual amount of stitching really, really matters. I mean, that's fair, right? That's fair to ask. If I don't run, I shouldn't call myself runner. And it's kind of easy to tell if one is stitching or not. They're, it's pretty scary. It's pretty scary that I can tell, especially after sharing the rhythm and form, I can tell that how much they're stitching or not stitching. It's not about the kind of, level or accuracy or speed. It's more like not natural. I don't want to say natural. It's how can I explain that? Let me find a way to explain that. Well, I cannot explain that. How do I know that they're not stitching? It's kind of contradict. It contradict with N. Well, it's not really explaining. It's really not explaining. I wish I can explain better. They say they stitch, but I'm very much looking for the analogy that I can use right now. Ah, this might be a good analogy. when one person, well, in order to see if the person is actually washing the dishes every night, probably the hand is a good way to look at, right? And if it's too clean, that's probably, well, then they might be using the glove. So, I don't. This might be a good topic to think about. I'll think about it. How can I explain that when I can tell one is not stitching, although they say they are stitching? It's not a result. It's more result can, yeah, result can tell too. Well, probably today is not a good day to come up with analogy. My brain's a little off. I think I'm still in the vacation mode. You may wonder why people say that I'm stitching while they're not stitching. I've seen some of those people, and they like Sashiko as well, but they like the outcome of them saying that they like Sashiko rather than just stitching itself. So they like something else that Sashiko can bring to them. And again, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong, and the problem happens when they do not clarify what they're doing. So when I teach, if I say that I'm stitching a lot, that would be a little bit of false statement because I am not stitching a lot. I'm stitching, but not really a lot, not as much as I used to. I mean, teaching requires a little bit of preparation, and I cannot, stitch as much as I want to. What's going on with my throat? Sorry for the discomfort. I don't want to keep coughing, but I don't have fever. I mean, it's the YouTube, it's online, so no virus should go through the live streaming, so you're fine. You're not stitching in the same room, so you are fine, but it's annoying. Well, this is a... just a second. I think where I go next. But yeah, I have no different goal for this year. I have another, like in addition, but the same goal stands. It is exactly the same goal to share what Sashiko is. And it may be difficult. It may be more difficult than I have been doing. But let's see what I can do. Let's really see what I can do. I really got nothing to lose for that matter. I don't have much, so it is okay to say what I want. It's kind of strong when we don't have anything to lose. In Sashiko, not, I have a lot to lose when it comes to my life, so I'm not willing to jeopardize that. But in terms of Sashiko, I don't have, well, yeah, I think I don't have anything to lose. So I will keep saying what I want. Yeah, that's the voice I can deliver. Actually, my collection is getting bigger and bigger. That I really have to protect. Really soon, I would like to think of the possibility of the exhibition. I think I have enough materials to have a very small exhibition, even in the US. I don't know where and when, but it's quite a lot of exhibitions material, and but it's not really the realistic option because I bring some of the items to not all some quite a lot of samples to the workshop to show what it really is. So having an exhibition for a long time is not really the realistic possibility at this moment. But the collection it's more like the item that I tried to buy from the other Sashiko artisans. They're piling up, so it is quite. Oh, so please check the upcycle. I don't know if I have it on my description today, but please look at the upcycle stitches on Instagram. I have been sharing the items that we, including myself, my mother Keiko, and our friends. And it's more like a showcase of what we make. My main Instagram is all about story, so I try to share the story around the photos, around the video. But on that Instagram business account, Upcycle Stitches, I kind of very much put the only pieces at this moment for the last few weeks. So that might be a good place to see what we're doing. And those are the, I think it's a museum quality. Well, some of them were actually in the museum, so I think it's a quality for that. So one day, and those museum quality of items are in my house. So yes, it's really, I have to be careful. I cannot lose those. For that, I have something to lose. It's something to have that many items. I'm very happy that I've been doing it since COVID. The COVID was the first time I started doing that. More like buying the items from the other Sashiko artisans. It's more like for the sustainability of this practice. Now, in order to keep the culture alive, we have to have three things secured. Without those three things, not a culture, I'm sorry, the craft culture or artisans culture will not exist. Art might be a different story because I don't know about the art, but let's say craft or industrialized craft. So such as, well, craft artisans. One is this supplier. One is the supplier. We have to have the supplier to keep any crafts. For example, I cannot do any of Sashiko that well, it will be very, very, very difficult, and it's almost impossible to do Sashiko without this fabric, thread, needles, and without fabric, thread, needle, and thimble that I'm using. Any of those cannot be replaced. I mean, if I really, really have to replace at some point, I don't know. I don't think I will. Like, if they stop making it, I may just stop doing that. And that's what many artisans decided when they had a, when their suppliers decided to discontinue. I've seen that, and I was about to be one of those. So supplier is actually quite. It's probably the most important things in these three categories. And the second category is the customers, or we might call that market. If the craft is done for the hobby, and if one has the outside extra income that they do not have to worry about to making ends meet. Like myself until 2023, 2024, last year, I did not have to worry about anything in terms of paying bill or, my ends will be somewhat met without contributing, thanks to my spouse, thanks to my wife. So I did not have to worry about the customers, so-called market, but it's not really healthy in terms of the craft and sustainability. It's quite unhealthy. I don't know if Sashiko can be a good subject to keep the sustainability of the crafting. But in general, one has to have the market. It's quite understandable, right? We can make it when we have a supplier, but if there's nobody buying or supporting, then only the items will pile up. And how do they make? They need to eat, they need to live. So, and third one is, of course, the artisans themselves. But I think artisans are kind of the last. Those two, like incoming and outcoming, those two outlet, two venue, either going in or going out. Those are very important. And why am I talking about this topic? I'm quite getting sleepy. Why did I talk about it? Just a second. Sustainability? Just a second. Sustainability? No. Why did I talk about it? Just give me a moment. I was sleepy, so. Craft? Sustainability? No. I was talking about 3 important things to keep the culture alive. Oh, yes. So, I cannot control any of those, right? I can describe what is needed, but I cannot really protect the supplier by myself. I cannot be the market itself. And I cannot be just the artisan by myself neither. So I think what I'm trying to do outside of sharing the story or stitching is that to make a small circulation of that And suppliers, I cannot really be the suppliers, so but I can be the customers. And so as much as I can, I try to be the customer of a existing artisan. So that's why I kept collecting those items, and it's not the best way to appreciate Sashiko. It has to be used to fully appreciate what Sashiko really is. So it's not the best condition to keep it in my, room or box. So I gotta think about what to do with those, but those are something that I cannot lose. Yeah, the story was about the things that I cannot lose. I said I don't have much to lose, but I realized that I have something to lose. If I'm sleepy this much, then I need a line. Without when I focus, I don't have to. It's like a snowstorm while I'm so sleepy. It's not. It's a horrible, dangerous combination. Yeah, snowstorming plus sleepy is really bad. Although the worst case scenario today is to stitch myself or say something stupid on the live streaming. Well, that's bad. If I say something stupid on the live streaming, that would be pretty bad. So that's not my intention, but that's a scary part of live streaming. When I'm sleepy, when I'm tired, I don't think I've done that, but I could say something stupid. I don't know. I don't know what I would say as a stupid thing, but yo. Okay. Not well. This one is gonna be done soon. Yeah, not that much left. I think I will stop live streaming after this thread. After this much thread, I will stop. Before I say something stupid. I think today is the time that I don't want to say something that I don't mean to say. I don't know why I'm so sleepy though. I didn't have to wake up early today. Well, I woke up early as usual, but I didn't have to wake up early today. I wonder why I'm so sleepy. But today is the first live streaming in 2025, and it is my intention, and I will do my best to continue doing the Sashiko live streaming every Thursday night at 9 o'clock. And nothing will change. I'll be mumbling all the time. It is my hope to make it more entertaining, but only things I can do is try. So it's probably not gonna happen like that. Sometimes I get lucky, but not all the time. And the goal is the same, to deliver the message, to deliver the message of what Sashiko really can be. And extra goal, another additional goal is to introduce not only what Sashiko is, but more like who we are, so that the better message will be, no, not better. The message will be delivered to those who are not ready to even receive those messages. So, well, but best resolution. Well, I told that I said the resolution is not gonna. I don't say about resolution, but my goal is like that. But my hope is, I hope that we can keep stitching throughout the year of 2025, and then we can get together again at the end or beginning of 2026 and say that we kept stitching throughout. It's a really, I don't want to say miracle, but it's a pretty big matter. I think it's a pretty big thing that we can continue stitching in this world, in this society. We have a luxury to keep stitching, and that's a quite big achievement. So I hope that you can keep stitching throughout 2025 again as well. And every Thursday night around, well, 9 o'clock, not around, 9 o'clock p.m., I will be here over the camera stitching the same thing. Maybe the same pattern, because this is the pattern I can stitch while talking like this. Well, I do have other patterns that I should do. It requires a little bit of concentration, and I want to make sure that I know what I'm doing. I've been focusing on stitching, but haven't done or seen Mizutoshi. Would you show or talk about it sometimes? I've been focusing on stitching, but haven't done or seen. Yes. I think I have some videos on YouTube somewhere. But yeah, I can show you that. I mean, it's really simple. It's surprisingly simple, surprisingly so I do have a videos actually as the follow-up of my teaching. So you can get the videos after taking the online class or in-person class. But it's pretty much me bringing the fabric into the bathroom and then sinking it to the sink. It's the bathroom sink, and keep the water by, how do you call that? Press the pole to close the drain, and then put the fabric in the water for a few hours is good. You don't have to do it more than a few hours. And you don't have to agitate the fabric, you don't have to wash it. You just soak it in the water for a few hours. And then if the fabric is like carryable, if it's not that heavy, like if you can carry the fabric with one hand easily, then just hang it and dry it. If it's too heavy, I would probably recommend putting that on the flat surface and then dry it. But the drying part is important as well. So wet it in the water and then dry it. That's we call that mizutoshi. So no specific technique, no specific knowledge. It's just an idea of putting the fabric in the water. It's quite interesting to do that. Oh, just a second. I probably did not even draw the line here. It's not even losing the line, it's just not drawing the line. It's a completely different story. But for the kasane, not a kasane, for the mizutoshi, some sashiko does not require mizutoshi, so it's really up to you, and you may wanna you might wanna make sure that why you do mizutoshi. If it's the activation of kasane, then you have to do that. You really have to do the mizutoshi to activate kasane. So that's like no question asked. So just putting into the laundry machine, I do not recommend it. I do not really recommend it, and it's not the best way to do it. But putting the fabric in the washing machine and then the regular cycle can be categorized as mizutoshi too. It's too much stimulation for the fabric for the first time, so I do not recommend it. I would just do the regular mizutoshi, put the fabric in the water, but at the same time, after we use it, the Sashiko fabric, for few times, or even few weeks, I guess, I do put them in the washing machine and tumble dry, and it has been okay. I know it's not ideal, but it is okay. It's surviving, so that's like a repeating the mizutoshi ever and ever. Okay, I think this is the end of the thread, and it's about time. Yep. This is extremely huge fabric. I am planning to make something like a scarf-ish item. I don't think I'm gonna make it happen this winter, so it's gonna be for the next winter. I don't think I will make it happen this winter. But it's a quite huge fabric, and it's kind of rare that I have a purpose. I have already what I'm making 2 and 4. So I hope that soon I can show it what I'm trying to make. I use a garment bag to wash my Sashiko stitched kitchen towels. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. After several use, using the washing machine is not really the bad idea. The first time though, I would suggest doing just mizutoshi. Well, this is another one I'm doing right now, which requires a little bit of attention because this. Do you see the blue line? Well, it might be difficult to see the blue line. This blue line requires quite small stitches, so I don't do it on the live streaming because I get frustrated. Yeah, I have to focus on that. It's more like driving on somewhere else. So when I talk, I would like to drive on the highway that I got used to. Okay, thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live Streaming. I really appreciate you coming on the Thursday night live streaming, although today is the 2nd of January, and I forgot to announce that. I really appreciate you coming here. If you're new to here, and if you have any questions, please leave the comments so that I can bring your question to the next live streaming. Also, your like button would be very much helpful to keep this channel healthy. That being said, I will see you next Thursday, and I will be talking about the same thing, stitching the same things, doing the same thing. But my goal is to share what Sashiko is while doing the Sashiko actually on the camera, so we can leave something behind. Okay, I hope you have a good night, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.